What is it, Counselor?
All right, we're live.
Okay, I now call to order the College Place Economic Development, Tourism and Events Commission meeting at 5 p.m. Will the clerk please take roll call?
Commission Member Warner. Absent. Commission Member Lean.
Here?
Commission Member Case. Commission Member Case. Commission Member Case. He's on Zoom. And unmuted, but I can't hear anything. Commission Member Moorhead.
Present.
Commission Member Stokes. Stokes is absent. And Commission Member Case. Can you please announce that you're here?
He's saying he can't hear us.
Kelly could hear us.
Yeah, that's strange.
Try logging off and logging back into Zoom. Commission Member Case.
Strange.
Commission Member Case, a few minutes to log back in. Commission Member Case.
This is Doug Case.
Can you hear me now?
Commission Member Case is present. We do have a quorum.
Okay. Did anyone submit a public comment in advance?
I did not receive any public comments. There's one person in the attendees list.
Okay. If anyone in actual or virtual attendance would like to speak, please raise your hand now.
Nope.
Okay, we'll move on now to the consent agenda. Do we have a motion to approve the consent agenda?
I'll make a motion.
And do we have a second? Do I have a second to approve the, approve the motion for the consent agenda?
It's you, Doug. Yours. Did he raise his hand?
Yeah.
I have to,
Yeah, I second.
All right, thank you, Doug. And all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All right, let's move on to our action agenda. We'll have a presentation from Mr. Rizzatello regarding the draft Walla Walla County broadband plan, please.
Yeah, thank you. So this is on a fast track. I mentioned at previous meetings, there's federal BEAD money that's coming down through the states, and in order to qualify for it, at least in the state of Washington, the state has made it where each county has to establish what's called a BAT, or a broadband action team, that comes up with this plan, and it follows a template that the state put together. And then you submit to the state, and then when the federal money comes down, then it can go for projects in the BAT. So the plan, in this county was really supervised by Blue Mountain Action Council. And they assembled a group of folks that could call in, or attend the meetings through Zoom. It was a cross section of cities, some internet providers, citizens, and other governmental units. And the key delineation you'll see in the plan is one in which you have underserved and unserved. So naturally, the state's prioritizing unserved, which would be areas somewhat north of Touchy and in the rural periphery. Underserved does include College Place, because one of the ways they were able to get some speed tests is that the state has this like speed test thing where you click on the link and then it can automatically tell what your upload download speed is. So from that, they were able to assemble a pretty good map of areas that have weak internet and good internet. College Place does have several areas that were underserved. So while we won't get first bite at the apple, I do suspect down the line it's gonna allow us to get some money to partner with internet providers to make sure everyone across the city is equitably served. This plan does need to be turned into the state by the end of the month, otherwise you essentially don't qualify for that money, and it's one-time money. So if you miss the boat, you basically stopped yourself from getting broadband money, period, and it probably won't come around again, so that's not a good thing to do. So with that, I'm looking for an advisory vote from this body for this, because this will be going through city council at the end of the month as well, because this has to be turned in end of June.
Okay, do we have any questions? All right, if there's no questions, could I have a motion to recommend the approval of the county broadband plan to the city council, please?
I'll make that motion.
All right, and do we have a second?
I'll second it.
And all approved, say aye.
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 I didn't hear Commissioner Case's vote.
You didn't hear it?
Nope,
Aye.
thank you.
I hear it echoing and echoing and echoing. All right, let's move on to the Transportation Benefit District revenue option. The sales tax by Mr. Rizzatello, please.
Thank you. So this item we talked about very, very long time ago, and we've been able to do various gimmicks to essentially prevent it for a long time, but we're getting near the end of our rope on this one. So one thing that's been a common point of discussion over the years is that the city doesn't really have a dedicated source of revenue for street projects. So over the years, what we've successfully done is we've federally classified roads, and essentially roadways are over 500 vehicles a day. So we had collect traffic counts, but we were able to get a number of roads converted to federal classified roads. So in my time here, we've gotten C Street, Academy Way, 4th, Scenic View, 8th. All of those classified, so now they qualify for grant funds, and really, as we've gotten them classified, we've gotten grants. So Damson, we have a TIB grant to fix that up, and then C Street, we fixed that up a couple of years ago. The problem is that our local roads, there's no way you can get like over 500 vehicles a day unless we got someone like repeatedly drive over traffic counters. And then with the amount of streets we've federally classified, I'm pretty sure, I mean, we're getting to a point where the state's starting to question it, because for how dense we are, we have a number of federally classified roads, and you will not see that number in other communities of our size. And the issue is that there's no way to classify these local roads, and they're all starting to fail. And our gas tax has been declining year over year, because you have fuel efficient vehicles. And then the other cross section of that is that our construction costs have skyrocketed. So for example, the most recent sidewalk project we're doing, 6th and 8th Street, which is community development block grant funds. That project was originally in the low 300,000 realm. However, bids came back. Luckily, the state came in with extra money and offset it, but the bid ended up being closer to 600,000. So that gives you, so we have costs going skyrocketing, and then the revenue almost going down in the wrong direction by the same amount. So rewind the clock back about 6 years ago. When I first got here, seeing the problem we were in, we went through all of the homework of creating a transportation benefit district. It's on the books. In fact, even though it collects no money, we've been getting audited to it for the last 6 years. At that time, it was decided not to go after the revenue because there were other pressing needs of the city. It took precedence. However, years later, I'm out of the bag of tricks to federally classify any additional roads. And we paid for a pavement management inventory, and that study is attached. It's very foretelling. I mean, right now we're in the mid-70s for the pavement rating, but it's going to drop off quick if we keep it our current means of funding it. So you will see with option number 3, that essentially if we do this TBD, it would allow us to, in essence, keep the average pavement rating and how it is today, and in some ways even improve it slightly, which is what's needed. Now, historically, with transportation benefit districts, you either could do the car tabs or you could do sales taxes, but in many cases, sales taxes were voter approved. Seeing really this cliff of maintenance that a lot of the cities are under, state legislature over a year ago, they changed the language in it where you can now adopt a 1/10 of 1% sales tax council manually. I think the reason why that's important is because for items And for items in which it's like a want and not a need, sending it to a vote's a great thing. However, keep in mind, everyone, that sending it to a vote, that's not free. It comes at a cost. So if you send stuff to a vote, especially things where, I mean, drive Birch, drive 10th, you can see the condition it's in. Every time you send some of the ballots over $35,000, so that's a lot of money. So what the proposal is here is we have this pavement railing study. It shows we're at the cliff. And it demonstrates the mean to get out of said cliff. And that is at 1/10 of 1%. And it makes sense because we do have several generators in town. Where this is a way for folks who drive our streets that don't live here to help pay for the maintenance of the streets. People from Milton, all over, go to the Walmart, they go to the Home Depot, the Hot Beef, Goodwill, everywhere else. And that sales tax would help in that way. And you'll see in that study in appendix 3, it isn't like we're saying, hey, give us the funds and we'll figure out what to do with it later. That study actually listed discernible methodology for what streets to cover, how and where and with what treatment. So there is a plan to move forward on this if approved by council. So a couple weeks ago, the Utilities and Transportation Advisory Committee, they recommended this to go to a vote for city council. And, you know, since the sales tax is collected by businesses, definitely need to get the opinion of everyone here on this. I'm just gonna say, if we don't do this, we are approaching a cliff. And if we don't deal with it, it's gonna become ever, as I just mentioned by our sidewalk project, the cost isn't gonna get any cheaper. I've not seen that happen in my 6.5 years here, so it's only gonna get compounded. And the more we put our head in the sand, the more expensive it'll get. So,
Okay,
questions?
I have a question.
Yeah,
So. If we make that councilmatic,
yeah,
you say the entire blueprint for action
Yeah.
is in the
Yeah.
124
Yeah.
page, or
Yeah.
you already paid for,
yeah.
and it was completed just at the end of last year.
Yeah, and they actually drove every street and with equipment, they were able to essentially tell the life cycle of each street.
The 4 different summary outcomes.
Yeah,
For the different funding
Yeah.
levels, is there one that is jumping out at folks?
well, I mean, the one that would be covered if we did this 1/10 of 1% would be the item number 3. Because item number 1 is unconstrained need, which I mean, that's not realistic because we can't print money. Item number 2 essentially is just that we do what we're doing, so you can see it fall off the cliff. Item 3 is to actually keep the system at the median PCI it's at now, which is what this 1/10 of 1% would do. And then scenario number 4 is basically improving it by 5 percentage points. Improving it by 5 percentage points, you would have to do like a voter approved, like 0.2% to do that. But at least we can stop diving off the cliff if we do the 1/10.
Yeah, makes sense.
any other questions or comments? Okay, well, do I have a motion to recommend to city council to pursue this 0.1% sales tax option for the transportation benefit district?
I'll make the motion to recommend that to the city council.
Okay, do I have a second?
I'll second it.
All right, all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Okay, let's move on to our reports. Our first one is our Blake Fixed State Law by Mr. Rizzatello, please.
Yep, so this is just to update everyone on this, so as you all may or may not know, the current drug laws in the state were gonna like sunset at the end of this month unless the state bothered to do any actions. So believe it or not, they actually did. So they had a special session. So they brought it back to now, this bill makes it a gross misdemeanor now to knowingly possess counterfeit substances and controlled substances and knowingly use prohibited substances in a public place. Cause before you really couldn't do anything in this paradigm, which frankly is what was causing the situation like out in Portland, Olympia and Seattle. And now you can, so this new law is gonna take effect, July 1st. Right when the old law sunsets. And it's a good first step there. I mean, there are things that need to be improved with it, but at least now you can do something. Because before it was pretty much you just had to treat it as a petty misdemeanor and folks were able to do whatever they wanted pretty much. So at least this brings some law and order back into the mix, which is a good thing. I will mention that, one thing with this law is that, there was some, legal debate back and forth, prior to this law getting passed, like, hey, cities can make their own laws to deal with this upon the sunset of that old law. Well, with this new law, it prohibits cities from making additional laws to enhance it. So essentially, we're stuck with what we have for now, but at least we have something. So, I just want to provide you all an update because I know that that was becoming a bigger and bigger issue.
And how long had it just been a petty, misdemeanor?
The last 2
2
years.
years?
Yeah, last 2 years, because that was really a reactive decision coming out of 2020 and the whole George Floyd thing. It went into other realms and this was another realm, and then it had bad after effects, so,
Sure did.
yeah.
Okay, well, if there are any comments on that, let's move on to our community events by Ms. Sinclair, please.
Hi, so, currently we're having our farmer's market here at the municipal campus. It's in the parking lot on Thursdays from 4 to 7. And we're still accepting vendor applications for that. Also, Freedom Festival is coming up. It's gonna be on July 2nd. At the College Place High School from 6 to 10 p.m. We're also accepting vendor applications for that event. And our musical entertainment this year is Shanks Bunny, and there will also be a kids zone. Let's see. We also have movies in the park coming up. There are 4 movie dates, and it doesn't look like I have that. Right in this published packet here. This is our community event sponsorship package, and this is available on the website. So if you're interested in sponsoring something, you're more than welcome to fill this out and send it into Athens here at the city. Our movies in the park dates are June 24th, July 8th, July 22nd, and August 5th. Thank you.
Do any of the 4 dates have sponsors yet?
I believe the first 2 dates do. The last 2 dates, last I heard, we were still looking for sponsors.
Okay.
Okay, well, it sounds like we've got a busy summer coming up ahead of us. If there aren't any questions or comments on our events, let's move on to our creative district public meetings by Mr. Rizzatello.
Sure, so as you all know, we are working to do the first joint creative district in the state of Washington, so we're getting ready to have the draft plan ready to go and be submitted to the state. As such, there needs to be, and they've had booths at a lot of the public events, including Black Party and then some of the neighborhood parties over in Walla Walla. So there's gonna be two community meetings and they are as follows. For Walla Walla, there'll be a community meeting in this creative district, June sixth. At 6:30 PM at the Little Theater in Walla Walla at 11:30 Sumac Street. And then College Place, there'll be a public meeting June 7th, and they'll be the Wednesday at 6:30 PM at the Lions Club building over at Lions Park at 801 Southeast Large. So what those public meetings and what we're positioning this for is that we're gonna get the necessary approvals to submit this thing to the state by the end of the month and see where it goes. So that's where we're at on this. Any questions?
Okay, let's move on to our development update, our May 2023 development update, please.
Yep. Okay, so with the development update, there's a lot of stuff going on as usual, so. Working with a gas station convenience store for the Meadowbrook area. Yeah, I'm meeting with them at the Vegas convention, so that went good. Chipotle, they're making headway on that. It will open later summer, but the former Chase building is being subdivided for Chipotle and another tenant. Meadowbrook Plaza Shopping Center, so the former cell phone end cap store, they moved them further into the shopping plaza. And there's now a small business in there called Pop Stop. And Commissioner Ling was there at the ribbon cutting for that. But they are now open, they have a drive-through and they do custom sodas and then snacks and such, so that's at that end cap facility. The former Baker Boyer Bank, which is just a couple of doors from City Hall. That has a lease to own option on it, and Denham Hospitality, which is owned by Dan Beeson, and they operate Walla Walla Steakhouse, Prospect Brewing. They've moved their headquarters into that building, so the old Baker Boyer Bank is now a headquarters. Next to Aspen Dental, the Burger King project has developed legs on that. So with Burger King, that will be open by the end of the year. Hard to believe because they haven't broke ground on it yet, but Burger King is moving from a model where they used to have a lot of corporate owned stores and they're gonna close all the corporate ones and they're incentivizing franchisees to either build out or take over all of them. So for franchisees, they're making it where if they open up once, you get a very large reimbursement and a bonus to do so, but they have to be open by the end of the year. So yeah, Burger King will be open by the end of the year in order to get that incentive. Project Bed, this one all of a sudden is getting a lot of traction. So this is behind Home Depot, the Whitman and Myra site. This was a hotel that was originally looking over by Half Thief. But now all of a sudden, the owner for the Whitman and Myra site has actually put down some money and is working with an architect and actually trying to make that happen. So it looks like it'll be a 4-story hotel with a convention center. So they're working to get a whole investment group going and try to come up with plans. But it actually looks like it has legs to it, which is pretty exciting. Now Project I is actually another hotel, and this one is actually looking at going where originally Project Bed was gonna go, which is over by Half Thief. So it's a chain. Project I is a chain. As you know, a lot of our nicknames tie to the real name, so if you're in the know, you can figure it out. But the Project I, they want to do a hotel adjacent to Half Thief. The big problem with that site is originally with the original hotel, they wanted that property owner either like have the land or give some sort of greater financial investment for the hotel. And that was why they ended up looking at other sites, and that owner on Whitman and Myra decided to pony up some money. However, this other hotel now is looking. Project Red, that's a big box power center. They are continuing to look at some property near the Stone Creek development. So we're seeing what we can do over there. Project Wood is a new one. They were looking here once before. And then I would say they were a little bit scared off by some dynamics of ownership. Now they've come back, and Project Wood actually operates open air retail lifestyle centers in Metro Seattle and Portland. And they're potentially interested in partnering with that hotel behind the Home Depot. So that looks like that may actually go somewhere. Project FM, we are still in talks with them. The big thing that's in the mix of Project FM is that currently the owner of FM is going through the SEC because they're actually acquiring other grocers. And that's adding to a lot of complexity because the grocers that if this gets approved, they're combining with also have a lot of open outlets in this valley. So if it does get approved, you essentially have dynamic one, which is you can end up with some outlets closed over in Walla Walla, and then we get a nice shiny new one. Or you could have the inverse happen where they're like, hey, there's 3 of them in Walla Walla, why would we build another one? So a lot of this hinges on what the feds end up doing with that merger. So we'll see what happens there. Project C is actually interesting too. So Project C, believe it or not, we're still in the running on that. So we did get shortlisted. Originally it was between us, West Richland, and Hermiston. I found out Hermiston fell out of the running. So it's us and then a site off of Dallas Road in West Richland. So they continue to do due diligence, but we're actually still in the running, so that's a good thing. Project Flight, which I'm gonna get into a little bit later. There's gonna be a lot of talk about this, and really it's, as plans come out for it, it's probably gonna be a game changer, for the city. But the owner behind Martin Air, who owns Martin Airfield and lands around it, it looks like it's finally going somewhere. So, they actually filed the application to annex into the city. And the one good thing with it is that they are gonna make investments to go fix up the airport. So the airport's going nowhere. It looks like there'll probably be additional hangars and some additional residential opportunities too. So I would say that's more of like a long-term development, but definitely good nonetheless. Project Detroit, that's a car dealership. We continue to talk with them. And then Project Arches, you could probably figure out who that one is. They want a College Place location, but it's predicated, I would say, on us getting either Project C or Project FM. Cause they locate on outlots of like a big box, so they're wanting a commitment on the big box before they commit to going in here. So that's the commercial side. Residential side, Homestead, no change yet, but we're ready to issue them permits, so they can go forth when they want to. Villages of Fort Walla Walla, we've been working to get them through the energy code. They are a developer from outside of the state, so they have some problems with that. We did invoice them for the permits and such, so it does look like it's moving. I will say one important thing to know with this apartment complex going in on Whitman, they are actually gonna put in pedestrian streetlights like you see on College Avenue. So we're gonna get pedestrian streetlights from Larch and Whitman all the way down Whitman toward Myra. So it's no longer gonna be really dark, which is what we were trying for. Sermon development, we continue to work with them to get through a permitting process. The owner wants to relocate the house that's on that property and move it elsewhere. So we're seeing what we can do on that front. Lakeside development, which is the Craig Christensen development. We are expecting, a master plan development application to come through later in August. Because they're gonna wanna position themselves to go to construction next year. A lot of their investment was predicated on us approving the tax increment financing district. City council did approve it at the last meeting in May, so since we fulfilled our side of the bargain, it looks like it's going through. Villages of Garrison Creek, the last couple of phases. We are continuing to work with them on the site infrastructure plans. It looks like in the donut hole in Villages of Garrison Creek. The roadways and the water and sewer and such, will probably get installed this year with the housing to follow next year. So that's where it looks like that's gonna go. The Vesper project, which is basically right over here across from City Hall. The apartment complex, as you can see, the walls on the first floor are up, so they're making great headway on that. So by the end of the summer, it should be, fully built out, which is great. Deer Meadows, that's a subdivision over off of Southwest 12th. We believe construction will start soon on that. It's an approved development. Martin Airfield, I'll get a little more into that, but it has a significant residential component, so we're gonna be working through that with them. And then Salerno Estates, that went through the public, hearing process. And that'll be 8 homes that are on the curve of Southwest 12. That's owned by Mark Murray, and those are being developed in like little half-acre lots out there. So that got approved and he can build when he wants to. So that is what is on the approval docket for developments and such. Any questions?
Okay, well, if there are no questions, let's move on to our Main Street RCW tweak by Mr. Rizzatello.
Hey, thank you. So, I mentioned this a couple of times and many of you have been party of this over the years as we've talked about this. But as y'all know, for the Main Street tax credit, where instead of you all paying the state with your B and O tax, you would pay the Main Street organization, get a tax credit, and then money actually stays local here. We have not been able to get that because you need a downtown association with a wide breadth of volunteers and such to get that. And we are an affiliate community, but to become a full-fledged organization, you need design promotions, a vitality committee, and over years, we've attempted it a couple of times and just due to everyone's commitments with other organizations, it's tended to fizzle. One of the things we want to run through, because there's quite a few business owners in College Place who are on the downtown Walla Walla Association board, so some banks and some other little businesses here and there, is what if the RCW was changed where the downtown Walla Walla Foundation could act as a Main Street organization for both cities, and then each city would get its own cap. So therefore, businesses here could essentially put in for the College Place cap, and it would stay in College Place. We wouldn't be detracting from Walla Walla, and they'd keep their cap, and all would be good in the world. That seems to dovetail with our creative district efforts. And just having attempted to create the downtown group several times, I'm starting to think this is the path of least resistance. So you'll see, the last document where I put in some strike language on the RCW, but we're thinking of running this through our lobbyists for next year. Because typically on the even numbered years, the state government doesn't really deal with budgetary items, but they deal with policy stuff. So we think in a short 60-day session, we could probably get this through. So that's what you're seeing in front of you. I'm gonna continue to work our lobbyists on language, so you'll have a more refined version in front of you at our next meeting in September. But I wanted you to be aware that this is coming down the pike. So questions?
It's good.
Okay, let's move on to our Martin Airport annexation by Mr. Rizzatello.
Okay, thank you. So you'll see the map in front of you, and Sherry, if you could click on the map document. Just so everyone can see it. So Martin Airfield, that's at the far west end of town, and a little bit of the history on this is that years ago, when a previous owner had it, there wasn't really future plan that was preventing us from growing in other areas. So we tried to pull it out of the UGA, then it switched owners. The new owner tried to stick a team of attorneys at us, so then we just essentially stopped pursuing pulling it out. Since that time, we put a lot of pressure on the new owner saying, hey, if you wanna be in the UGA so bad, where you're preventing us from going in other areas, like go do something. So, now they have filed an annexation request, and we are gonna help them pursue a grant application before the Community Economic Revitalization Board. They now provide site readiness grants to do infrastructure analysis, and this site needs a lot of infrastructure analysis, because keep in mind, when we tried to pull out of the UGA 4 years ago, that meant we weren't doing any infrastructure studies out there, nothing. In fact, this land out there doesn't even really have a future land use attached to it right now, because again, we were trying to pull it out, so it's just been hanging out there. So what the idea is that this is gonna go through the hearing to annex everything in the red. The July 11th council meeting, what we're talking about doing is reverting to really what was in the older comprehensive plans of the city, which is the airfield proper portion of it would be zoned the light industrial, because that's like the closest land use to an airport that we have. And then the stuff south of Doan's Creek would be zoned single family residential. And once they're in the city, we'll work with them on filing that grant application to the state. Because likely, this is gonna trigger needs with extension of water and sewer lines out there. And then what we're looking at doing is on land south of it, where wastewater treatment plant is, putting a substantial water tower that was gonna help the Stone Creek Craig Christensen development, but likely it'll help this too, because it would be on a bluff and could gravity flow both directions. The one twist is based on what some of the discussions are, is that water tower is likely gonna have to be significantly sized, for what it sounds like they may wanna do out there. So once we get them in the city, we're gonna have an extensive site planning process with them. And then we'll also have them before this commission a lot, because I suspect down the road, they're gonna want some sort of assistance on some stuff, and we're gonna have to negotiate. So, you will definitely be on the front lines of that. So this is all information we have for now. Is there any questions on that?
It's good.
The two
Okay.
properties-
Yeah.
Were there any questions? All right, let's move on to our US 12 Phase 7 update by Mr. Rizzatello.
Okay, so this actually opened Friday night at 8 PM, so it is now 4-laned over to 9 Mile Hill. So that's great. The contractor Apollo, they're still gonna be doing some site work for the next month or so, because They took out that portion, connected the old section of Highway 12 to the new part near, Frenchtown. And they'll be taking out that curve that's along there. And then put up new signage and such along the new portion, but yeah, it's in. It basically saves a mile each way of travel time, so about 2 or 3 minutes. The good news with phase A is with the final budget that passed out of the state. Originally Governor Inslee was trying to steal money from the north-south freeway and then also phase 8, because in the old 2015 Connecting Washington package, there was money in there for final engineering and right-of-way acquisition for phase 8, which would complete the highway from 9 Mile Hill to the Wallula paper plant. And he was trying to kick out basically a decade. Luckily, we were able to keep that because the federal government has what's called a mega program for like mega roadway projects. And Senator Murray, who's on appropriations and chairs that, she viewed like this last phase 8 thing as like her legacy project for the state. So we're actually in a really good, the thing is you need local match. So now that we know the state money for the engineering and the right of way is safe, we're actually in a really good position to go get federal money to close out phase 8. So that doesn't look as far-fetched as it once was, which is definitely a great thing. So that'll be one of many things the mayor and I will be lobbying for when we go to DC in a couple weeks for the mega project. But then also we did get 4 earmarks. So we have earmark from Senator Cantwell for $2.5 million to replace the community center at Lions Park. We have an earmark from Representative Kathy McMorris Rogers for Southwest Majanier Road for $2.5 million. We have another earmark for $2.5 million for the well house at a new well we're gonna build to support the lakeside development, well number 7 for $2.5 million. And then the fourth one is about $900,000 for some lighting and some lane reconfiguration work on Rose Street between Lambert and the Walla city limits. And that's what they're doing. But for all these earmarks, you have to testify before committees and everything else over there in DC. So we will be going to do that. From what we've heard so far, the earmarks we turned in because they were turned in early. And it's subject to those hearings, but we're hearing that we're in a pretty good footing to survive the whole debt ceiling thing that was going on. So we're pretty good there. But we'll be advocating for those, and then also for Highway 12 Phase A, and then there's actually some residual ARPA money that some smaller cities didn't spend that they're looking to potentially push out to communities that have shovel-ready projects. So
Again,
the American Rescue Plan Act, yeah, so we're gonna potentially look at trying to see if we could get some of those monies reprogrammed to support the water tower over at by Martin Airfield. So that's just an update of what's going on in that area.
when's your trip to DC?
That'll be around July 17th.
Toasty
Yeah, I know.
and humid.
Yeah, not a good time to go there.
Any questions or comments on that? Okay, well, that all sounds great. Let's remember our next meeting is September 11. And if there is nothing else to do, let's have a motion to conclude the meeting.
Motion to conclude the meeting.
And do
Second.
I have all right, and if there's no objection, all in favor, say aye.
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 Aye. And the meeting is now concluded.
Thank you.
All right, thank you.